All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our weekly stock advisory mobile coaching stream. My name is Patrick France, senior instructor here at VectorVest. Hey there, Jay. Hopefully, you're doing well. Glad to have you here. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. We should be live now, both on Facebook and on YouTube. So if you guys can hear me out there, just let me know in the comments. Type in VV Nation in the chat, get that going there. I see Jay's already ahead of the crowd there with that one. So once again, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Patrick France, and this is our weekly coaching session that we do, talking about the VectorVest stock advisory, covering different tips and tricks, different ideas, different ways to make money. So if you're looking to improve your own trading, this is the right spot for you. So hey there, Drew, VV Nation, awesome, love to see it. All right, so once again, welcome. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hopefully everybody's having a good Thursday. Today, we're going to be looking at lower dollar stocks and seeing how we can really utilize VectorVest to help us find some of the better candidates out there, because there's a lot of lower dollar stocks. A lot of stocks that are lower dollar tend to be pump and dumps, so you have to be careful with what you're getting into. But luckily, with the VectorVest analysis, we can help find those candidates a lot easier. Hey, C and J both on Facebook and on YouTube. Appreciate that, Jay. So welcome once again. If you're brand new here to the stream, make sure, as always, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, so that way you get notifications on every time we go live. We have a lot of great content every single week for you, and also other content here on our YouTube channel. So make sure, as always, subscribe and turn on that notification bell as well. Hey there, Tom. What is the best source of training and how to use the mobile platform? Great question. So there's actually a whole source for you, a whole area inside the mobile app to help you out with that. So what you have to do on the left hand side, you see the education tab over there on the left. You can go to that, and there's a lot of great free training for you to help you get up to speed with the mobile app if you like. So hopefully that helps you out. Check or take a look at it, and if you have any questions, bring them here on our Thursday streams, and I'd be glad to answer them for you. Hey there, James. Good morning, Mark. Glad to see you here this morning. All right, so as always, what we're going to do if you're brand new, start off by taking a look at what's going on in the market here today. Then we'll dive into our topic of discussion. Then, as always, we'll finish off with the fan favorite of analyzing any stock that you want to take a look at in less than 10 seconds. So starting off right now, we are one tick into the red. Therefore, the color guard is mildly bearish, and VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. As we all know, Tesla had their earnings last night. Had the best earnings they've ever had last night, and even good earnings aren't getting rewarded anymore right now in the market. So we need to be a little careful with that. The positive news from the Tesla earnings was not enough to help make the markets move higher. So therefore, right now we are one tick into the red. So as we scroll down, taking a look at the color guard, because that's where that gauge gets its colors from, is that top row of lights there. And the color guard analyzes the overall market, and we really focus on three key components. The first one is looking at the price, or the price of the VectorVest composite. Now, the VectorVest composite is an arithmetic indexed average of about 9,100 stocks out there. So this gives you a better representation on what's actually going on in the market, because it's not just looking at the Dow's 30 or the Nasdaq's 100 or even the S&P's 500. But it's looking at 9,100 stocks, so it gives you a better sense of the overall direction and trend of the market. The next indicator is the RT, or relative timing. Now, this is looking at the short-term price trend of the market. It's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, so if it's above 1, short-term trend would be up. Below 1, like it is now at 0.94, tells us the short-term trend of the market is still down here. Then our third indicator is the BSR, or buy-to-sell ratio, which is looking at the overall health of the market. So as always, VectorVest gives a buy, hold, and sell rating on every single stock every single day. And we use the ratio between the buys and the sells to identify the overall health. So if there's more buys and sells, the buy to sell ratio is going to be above 1, which would indicate overall market strength. And if the buy to sell ratio is below 1, that indicates there's more sells than buys in the database, or overall market weakness. So right now we do see overall market weakness currently. Hey there, Corey. Good morning, Jim. Hopefully you guys are doing well. So the trends of these three indicators are comprised to come up with our MTI, or our market timing indicator. It's looking at the underlying trend of the market, and once again, this is going to be on a scaling of 0 to 2 to make it easy for everybody out there. So if it's above 1, underlying trend is up. Below 1, underlying trend is down currently. last but not least, we then look at the trend column, which shows two parts of the trend each and every day. So the first part is looking at what we like to call the primary wave, which is just simply the weekly trend of the market or the short-term trend of the market. As we can see, it is up since we are higher than the prior week earlier. The second part, just looking at the MTI or the underlying trend, since the MTI is below 1, underlying trend of the market is also down here, or underlying trend is down. And then the calls column, which stands for our confirmed calls. It's our most conservative timing system here at VectorVest. It's our last signal we get to get in and our last signal we get to get out. As you can see, we still remain in that confirmed down situation as of today. So as always, before we jump into our topic, we do want to take a look at the advanced declines and also the major indices. So when we look at the advanced declines, if we're looking for a good day to be buying, we want to see a 2-to-1 ratio. So we want to see twice as many stocks advancing and declining, and just the inverse on a down day. So right now we're sitting at about 44% of stocks moving higher and about 44% of stocks moving lower. So meeting 1-to-1, not meeting that 2-to-1 ratio. So therefore, if you're looking to buy a stock today, probably going to be a day we just simply hold off and wait for a better opportunity, or give the market some more time to develop and see if we can get a better opportunity in the later half of the session here today. But then finishing off with the major indices, as we can see, the Dow is up about 0.6%, the Nasdaq's up about 0.5%, S&P 500 up a little over 0.5%, VectorVest Composite essentially flat here so far. So that's going to summarize what's going on in the market today. Also, we have well over 130 people here. If you haven't already, if you're just tuning in, make sure hit that like button. All that helps us out with the YouTube algorithms and helps continue to grow this amazing community, the VV Nation community that we have. We've been building up over the last few years. So if you haven't already, make sure smash that like button right now. Punch it like it's your middle school bully, if you will. All right. So with that, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at lower dollar stocks. So if you're somebody who's brand new to the markets, maybe has a smaller portfolio, and you see the prices on companies like Tesla, Amazon, those sorts of companies that have well over $1,000 price tags on them per share currently, and you may think, it's a little overpriced for me, so I'm probably going to hold off on jumping into those kind of stocks. Maybe I could start off with something smaller I can get more shares of. I'm willing to take that additional risk of getting into a lower dollar stock, but they do have more potential if they start to really, you can get more bang for your buck essentially if you're buying more shares in dollar weighting your position. So what we're going to be doing is showing you guys a simple trick, taking a look at one of the easiest ways to find some lower dollar stocks that have great potential. As always, before we jump into it though, I do want to make sure everybody's on the same page and preface this with that. If you are going to jump on board with these, make sure to follow the color guard. Make sure it's telling us it's okay to be buying. Right at the very top center. We want to see guidance telling us it's okay to buy. We also want to see, as we keep discussing week in and week out, the advanced declines. We want to see that 2-to-1 bias with the advanced declines as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at it. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to jump into the screener over here on the left and go to the featured screens. Now, there's a lot of great screens that you can find here inside the Stock Advisory app under the featured screens. And also, as we've seen in the past with some of the other streams that we've done, you can find some other really good ones under the Explore screens as well. But what we're going to be doing here today is scrolling down once we get in here and looking at the best stocks below 20. This way, they're going to be cheaper to begin with. They have a lower dollar price tag. But when you utilize the power of VectorVest, it'll help you find good opportunities here. And no surprise, we're seeing a lot of resource stocks, a lot of energy stocks, because what has been hot recently? Well, energy and resource stocks. So of course we're going to be seeing those here. And if you're looking for, smaller names that have great potential still that you can buy a little bit more shares of for your dollar there, these are going to be some awesome opportunities here. So first and foremost, starting off, it defaults by utilizing the VST indicator. So it's looking for the best combination of value, safety, and timing, something you're not going to find anywhere else. So EGY comes up as the best stock based off the overall VST score. Now, if you want to dive into it a little bit more, as always, just simply tap on it. And then we get these 4 indicators here at the bottom. Now, the 4 indicators are going to help us analyze the stock and help us get the information that we need to be able to use or to be able to make a informed decision on whether or not it's a good stock for us. So the first one we're going to look at is the RV, or relative value. This is looking at the long-term potential over the next 1 to 3 years. So at 1.65 tells us it has pretty good long-term potential over the next 1 to 3 years. The next one is the RS, or relative safety, which is looking at the amount of risk involved with it. So if it's above 1, that would indicate less risk. Below 1 indicate more risk than the average stock out there. At 0.99 is pretty much flat, so about average risk associated with this one here. But then when you're looking at smaller dollar stocks, one of the things you're going to definitely be keeping an eye on is the RT, or relative timing. The relative timing is looking at that short-term price trend once again. Since it's cast on a scale of 0 to 2, above 1 the closer to 2 it is, the stronger the uptrend. Below 1 the closer to 0 it is, the stronger the downtrend. So this is a little bit more unique than any other technical indicator you typically get out there, because it's not just looking at the direction or the magnitude, but a combination of both summarized into one easy to understand indicator here. And then the combination of these three are combined to come up with the overall VST score, VST standing for value, safety, and timing. So since it's above 1, it tells us the overall stock is favorable currently. Now this one is down a little bit here today, but with the RT at 1.86, it has been in a really strong uptrend. So let's go ahead, tap on it, take a look at the graph. I'll just go ahead and maximize it here. And what we see currently is the price shown in candlesticks at the top. We have a 3 and 8 exponential moving average around that to indicate short-term momentum, whether it's in favor of the upside or the downside. And then in the bottom, we have the RT, or the relative timing. Now, as always, if you ever want to customize your graphs to fit your specific needs, just simply tap on the gear in the upper left. That'll pull up the graph settings. And let's go ahead and say we want to change the RT at the bottom to MACD. We've been talking about MACD a lot, so let's stick with that, continue on with that one here. So we go back, zoom in, there we go. So now let's go ahead, this is on a 1 year. If we want to change the time frame, just simply tap on the different time frames at the top. Let's go 3 months. And looking at it here, stock has been hitting higher highs, higher lows. By the most basic definition, putting us in an uptrend. So I like where we're starting off with already. Looking at the MACD is slowly ticking up into positive territory, which tells us on a longer term basis, it is in an uptrend as well. So kind of confirming what we're seeing with that price action. On a short-term temporary basis, looking at the 3 and the 8, the 3 is still greater than the 8. And looking at what it's done in the past recently, every time that 3 comes down and almost gets close to crossing below that 8 exponential moving average, it tends to bounce off and starts to move higher. So what's going on right now? We're just coming off of the top, pulling back a little bit. 3 is converging with the 8. So therefore, maybe wait to see that 3 come close to the 8 and try to kiss it and bounce back off and use that as an entry. You know, what you see in the past is most likely what you're going to get in the future. So always keep that in mind. And looking at it though, I like the chart. You know, if you're using, let's say, your brokerage account, you're looking at the chart on there and you have trend lines available to you, you can always put a trend line here connecting these lows here, 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 and use that as your line in the sand as well. You know, just some ideas on taking advantage of some of these stocks and knowing, you know, where to set your limits at. So that way, you know, if it doesn't continue to go up, therefore you minimize any loss there with that one. So EGY being the first one, like what we're seeing with this one. SJT, this has been one of the top VST stocks recently. Well, I look at it, stock has been rocking and rolling. No surprise there. But one of the things I'm a little cautious with, just on a short-term basis, is seeing that candle right here. When you see a tall tail or a tall wick on top of that candle and the price action closing towards the lower 50% of that range, that indicates a lot of selling pressure. A lot of people were protecting their profits at that point. And so therefore you need to see new signs of buying coming back in. Well, you had a nice tall tail here, therefore indicating a lot of buying pressure coming in off those lows right around that $10 range. But today, just kind of flat, not really seeing a whole lot of movement one way or the other. So this could be one. Let's go ahead, change what we see with the MACD, change that lower indicator once again. Let's go ahead and put volume on, because as we always talk about, volume is conviction. And let's go see. Biggest volume we have, no surprise, as we expected. Right there at that high, telling us that, that is the candle we need to focus on for the time being until we see another major volume spike. Well, what happened? Stock started pulling back at that point. We also noticed that nice tall tail on this one, but on low volume. So that indicates not a whole lot, while the candle shows some buying pressure coming in, there wasn't a whole lot of conviction behind that. And then today, stock's moving sideways. So this could be one, maybe wait to see if it can start moving back up. Maybe use a buy stop limit order to ensure that the stock's moving higher upon purchase. Some ways of protecting yourself to make sure that it's moving higher when you get into it. But the overall trend of the stock definitely looking pretty good here so far. All right, so that's going to be the second one. GTE, another resource and energy stock. This one, I like this setup a little bit better. Let's go ahead, zoom in. So you had a big run up back here around the beginning of March. Then you took a little bit of a breather, consolidation, a tight channel moving sideways. And now all of a sudden you're starting to pick up. The 3 and the 8 turned positive a few days ago. You're also noticing on that time frame, looking at volume starting to increase as well, which gives us signs that, there's some actual conviction behind these upward moves. Well, you have the high here. Let's see where that was. The high was at 202. Right now it's trading at 185, so it's a lower dollar stock for sure, but it's on a nice move. You're starting to see new buying volume coming in. That could easily push it above that high, breaking that $2 range, and then start to move higher from there. So this could be a great opportunity if you're willing to take on that lower dollar price range of a stock. But let's go ahead and analyze it. So GTE, great long-term potential, 1.53 on the RV, definitely what you want to see. The RS, these are lower dollar stocks. So the RS ratings, you can expect to see them typically a little lower than what you're used to seeing with some of the, $50, $100, even $1,000 range. So 0.88 tells us, yes, there is a little bit more risk associated with this stock. With a high RV and a low RS, that makes this stock an aggressive stock. So if you're an aggressive trader, these are the kind of stocks you're looking for, is high RVs, low RSs. And then, as always, if you're aggressive and you're looking for momentum, RT is key. Once you get into a stock, RT becomes the most important indicator to keep an eye on, because at that point, once you actually own it, it doesn't matter whether or not, or what the fundamental indicators are saying. It just matters whether or not the stock is making you money or not making you money. And the RT can indicate that. If it starts dropping or starts moving below 1, that would indicate the stock is not making you money, and therefore giving you confirmation that, hey, maybe it's time to get out of the position if you haven't already exited already. But with the high RT of 1.96, it tells us this stock is in a really strong uptrend. So overall, definitely favorable here. Moving on to the next one, CRK, another resource stock. Once again, great long-term potential, but does have a little bit more risk associated with it. No surprise there. Really strong RT at 1.95. Overall, stock is definitely favorable. Let's go ahead, jump in, take a look at the graph, maximize it here. So you see strong buying pressure coming in there, taking a little bit of a breather over the last few days, but starting to slowly pick back up and on a nice steady trend from bottom left to upper right. That's exactly what you want to see. If you're looking for a stock, you want to see a nice steady rise from bottom left to upper right. I don't know how many times I've worked with people over the years, and we go take a look at the stock that they're interested in, and the price action is completely opposite. It's going from top left to bottom right, and they're wondering, hey, it's down now, this is the time to buy. Well, when you see those kind of stocks that are moving from top left to bottom right, they tend to continue to move like that, and until you see signs of actual turnaround, you're going to want to stay away from those. So therefore, focus on stocks that are doing what you want them to be doing when you get into them. So yeah, CRK, definitely looking pretty solid here. And also, if you're somebody, as we talked about last week, a lot of people were asking about value and undervalued and overvalued. As always, you can come down here and you can take a look at the value. So the value is at $17.93 on this one. Price is at $17.77. So therefore, the stock is fairly valued. So you're not really paying a premium for this stock right now. You're getting a fair price for it. And who doesn't love, at least paying what it's worth, or paying even less, getting a discount. So that's one of the great things, as always, with VectorVest. You can make sure that you're not overpaying on some of these lower dollar stocks as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next one. SD, another great example. Great long-term potential, a little bit more risks than the average stock out there. Really strong short-term uptrend. So overall, stock is definitely favorable. No surprise coming out of the energy sector. Looking at it, the stock is fully valued, so you're paying a little bit more than the current value, but not by much, so therefore pretty much paying what it's currently worth. And as always, you can get more information on any stock out there, such as earnings information, earnings growth rate, the CI, the comfort index, which we've talked about many times in the past. It's been a while since we've talked about CI specifically, but essentially it's a stock's ability to withstand severe or lengthy price declines. It's more of a technical indicator, and essentially what it's doing is anytime a stock has a pullback, if it can quickly rally back and create new highs, then that increases that comfort index. So it's basically the snapback factor, if you will. And at 1.79, that's a pretty strong CI rating as well. So this stock has great long-term potential, a little bit more risk, really strong uptrend. Overall, the stock is favorable, and it has the ability to bounce back after pullbacks and create new highs relatively quickly. So I like this stock as well, especially if you're looking at lower dollar stocks. This is a great opportunity here. Now, Hudson Tech, another one. Good long-term potential, a little bit more risk associated with it. No surprise there. Look at that timing, 1.92, really strong short-term uptrend. So overall, stock is definitely favorable. Let's go down, scroll down. Stock is undervalued as well. Looking at the comfort index, 1.72, pretty strong there as well. So everything is looking pretty good on these. And that is the power of what VectorVest can provide for you is, not only can it help you identify stocks that, fit more of your budget, but it can also make sure you're getting into some of the best opportunities out there at any given time. A lot of articles out there, a lot of publications that come out, talking about this stock and that stock. And when you have two different people writing two different articles, it's hard to compare apples to apples because everybody has their biases with everything in life. And so if two people are writing about the same stock, one could be looking at, let's say X, Y, and Z. The other person could be looking at A, B, and C. But they're talking about the same stock, just analyzing it from two different aspects. Well, with VectorVest, they were analyzing everything in a systematic format or systematic form here. So that way you're able to compare apples to apples rather than apples to oranges. So if you want a unbiased, fair opinion or fair view of the stock, fair analysis of the stock, once again, there's nothing better out there than the stock advisory app, especially if you're on the go a lot. All right, so that's going to be Hudson. Let's go take a look. PHX, another one. Seeing some strong volume. You do see some taller wicks on top of these most recent runs here, giving us a little bit of hesitation, but definitely moving in the right direction. If we can take out that high, which looks like we're trying to take it out as of today, could be a good opportunity here to keep an eye on as well. And then REI, another one, really strong up day yesterday, closing the upper part of that range, taking a little bit of a breather here today so far, but definitely one could be a pretty big mover going forward here. If we go back, take a look at the analysis. Once again, good long-term potential, but does have more risk associated with it. No surprise with that one. RT at 1.96 tells us really strong short-term uptrend. So overall, stock is definitely favorable. Also, one other thing that we haven't really looked at, is if you're an options trader, yeah, these are lower dollar stocks. So typically you're not going to trade too many options on these lower dollar stocks. But if you so choose to, you do have the exchange here at the bottom right. And if you see an X in the exchange, that just simply means it's optionable. So therefore, if you're looking to increase your leverage even more so, that would be a good thing to look at as well, making sure that the stock does have options on it. And it even says options available, and it says yes right below there. So even simpler there for you. All right. So with that, any questions so far that you guys have? I see a lot of people in here, but I want to make sure that we're not losing anybody. Everybody has a pretty good idea of what we're looking at. And if you guys have any questions, let me know. Also, if you guys have found or seen one of these stocks that we're looking at here today that looks interesting to you, let me know which stock you guys find interesting out of this list so far. But going down here, we can look, and most of these stocks are energy and resource stocks. Well, money goes where money grows, and we're trend followers here at VectorVest. So as long as the trend is in favor of these kind of stocks still, we'll continue to put our money where the overall movements are to continue to grow it. How do you know it's a risky stock? So Baxter, basically, let's go ahead, pull up the stock analysis report, scroll down to the RS. There we go. So RS is computed from an analysis of consistency and predictability of companies' financial performance, debt to equity ratios, sales volumes, business longevity being a key component there, price volatility, a few other factors. So, if a company is reporting earnings quarter over quarter and year over year and consistently beating their earnings estimates, then that would be something that has consistency, so therefore less risk associated with it. If they're a lower dollar stock, if they've been, losing money, they're, one quarter make money, but then lose money the next quarter, they're not really consistent. They're not really generating positive earnings consistently, then yeah, there is going to be more risk because as we always talk about, earnings is the engine that drives stock prices higher over time. So if a company is consistently growing their earnings, you can expect to see that stock price continue to rise over time, therefore making it less risky. If the company has inconsistent earnings or inconsistent balance sheets, then there's a lot of guesswork to be had with that one. It's you could see it spike if they beat earnings, but then you could also see it drop if they miss earnings. It's basically flipping the coin. So when you look at their balance sheets, you look at their finance or financial reports. That's how we analyze the stock to get that RS rating. So the more consistent and more predictable their earnings performances are, their financial performances, the less risky that stock would be in the database here. So hopefully that answers your question there. I like CRK, picked it up when it got above the 40. Let's go back, take a look. CRK, scrolling up a little bit. Got above the 40. Stock hasn't been above the 40 level. Let's see, going to 1 year. You mean the 4, Drew? I'm just trying to see. Because right now it's trading about half of that. So it hasn't even gotten close to 40. Let's go 5 years. Yeah, even on 5-year basis, it's never gotten close to 40. So trying to read that there. ESTE. ESTE, let's go take a look at that one. ESTE, yeah, good long-term potential. The stock has a little bit more risk associated with it. Timing at 1.77 tells us it's in a really strong uptrend. So overall, stock's definitely favorable. Yeah, I like what we're seeing with this one. Stock looks good. The analysis looks good. Stock is undervalued. CI is at 1.58, so stock has good ability to withstand severe lengthy price declines, or it snaps back quickly. Forecasted earnings growth rate over the next 1 to 3 years at 43%. Not bad. I like what we're seeing with that one. So yeah, definitely a good candidate to keep on our radar here. Let's see what happened with AA. Not sure, Mark. Haven't looked at it today. On March 1st, let's go see CRK. There we go. So March 1st puts us right about 1 day off. Man, March 1st. So been trading at about 8. Well, what did it close at? 837. Now trading at almost or a little over 1750. So not a bad day's work. What is that? About 90% gain on so far? Not a bad day's work on this one. And that just goes to show, this is a great opportunity. If you're looking for these lower dollar stocks, you can find some really great money-making opportunities in this list. It's one that flies under the radar. We've never really talked about this one specifically, but the best stocks below 20 can really help you find some great long-term, or not long-term, but great short-term candidates to make some really good gains on. Hey, you're welcome, Baxter. Glad to have you here today. Hopefully you're doing well as well. All right, so let's see. LT. Okay, so I see a lot of people wanting to see their own stocks analyzed, and it looks like you guys have a pretty good idea of some of the kind of potential you can find there with that one. So let's go ahead and start to move into the fan favorite. If you guys have stocks that you want to see analyzed, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat, and I will go ahead and show you how easy it is to analyze any stock out there with the VectorVest Stock Advisory app. So let's go ahead, pull up the little magnifying glass in the upper right, and go ahead and start typing in. We'll start off with AA. AA down 13% so far here today. Looking at it, good long-term potential, a little less risk than the average stock out there. Timing though, timing seems to be starting to pull back. So most likely, I believe this was earnings related. And if we wanted to, we could go here and go to the stock news. Let's see. Let's go check this. Taking a look. Yeah, so dip on earnings, supply chain challenges right there. If you ever have questions about one of your stocks, let's go ahead. Just tap on those three little dots in the upper right-hand corner, and you can check out the stock news right from the mobile app here for you. So, yeah, looks like earnings related. Looks like they may have missed a little bit, and that's causing it to drop. So, you know, it's interesting. We talked about this a little bit right out of the gate here this morning, but the Tesla earnings compared to the Netflix earnings, you know, it doesn't seem like Wall Street's really rewarding those who have positive earnings. It seems like they're trying to focus more of the negative side of the earnings. So if you have a miss, your stock's getting punished pretty hard. But if you have a beat, your stock's getting barely rewarded. So it seems like, you know, big money is trying to push the markets in a certain favor. Seems a little interesting there, if you ask me. But hey, what do I know? All right, NUE. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one. So NUE has great long-term potential. It has less risk associated with it. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, this stock is definitely favorable. This has been a top VST stock for quite some time. So yeah, seeing it rocking and rolling here today as well, up over 10% here. STLD. STLD, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it, really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, stock is definitely favorable. LTRX. Oh, there we go. LTRX, good long-term potential, a little bit less risk than the average stock out there. The stock is in a short-term decline though, so be careful with that. If you're already into it, keep your eye on the RT. And, you know, if the RT crosses below 1, as we've talked about when, you know, the 4 tips of knowing when to sell, RT crossing below 1 is one of those tips there. So be careful with that one. Overall, the stock is favorable, but you need to see that timing pick back up. Let's see. TMST. Timken Steel, good long-term potential. A little bit more risk than the average stock out there, however. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, stock is definitely favorable. Let's see. GTE, we looked at that one. NAT. Poor long-term potential. A lot of risk associated with it. However, you do have a really strong short-term uptrend currently. It's a speculative play right now, but really strong momentum. So therefore, if you're a momentum trader, could be a good interesting candidate to look at. Overall, stock is favorable though. Let's see, NCLH. Netflix is now undervalued by over $100 according to VectorVest. Yeah, it's the first time I've seen, Mark, I believe actually this is the first time since I've been here at VectorVest, so about a little over 11 years now, that I've seen Netflix undervalued. It's kind of crazy. So looking at Norwegian Cruise. Poor long-term potential, a lot of risk associated with it. No surprise. The fundamentals have been off the last few years, especially due to the COVID crisis that we've experienced across the globe. Really strong short-term uptrend though. So if you're willing to take that bet right now, if you're willing to speculate a little bit, you do have some pretty strong short-term momentum favoring the upside. So overall, because of that, the stock is favorable currently. Let's see, DAL. DAL, good long-term potential, but a little bit more risk associated with it. You're in a really strong short-term uptrend, so overall, the stock is definitely favorable here. HOG, let's take a look. Harley-Davidson, good long-term potential, but does have more risk associated with it than the average stock out there. Looking at timing, 1.15, it is in a slight uptrend on a short-term basis. Overall, the stock's slightly favorable here. TGT, good long-term potential, a little bit less risk associated with it. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, the stock is definitely favorable. Let's see, LPLA. Good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. Really strong short-term uptrend. So overall, stock is definitely favorable here. HA. Good long-term potential, but more risk associated with it. Really strong short-term uptrend. Overall, stock is definitely favorable. Apps, of course. Apps is a must-have every single week. So looking at apps, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it, slightly less risk associated with it, but the timing is off right now. So therefore, right now is not the time to be long in it. Overall, good stock, just not the right time to be long in it. Let's see what else we got. NVDA, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it. But however, you are in a strong decline currently. So overall, the stock is favorable, but you need to wait for that timing to pick back up. This could be one, keep on your radar, wait to see that timing start to increase. There's been news that, I forget exactly who it was, but there's going to be some chips starting to come back out, which should hopefully relieve some of that pressure that we've noticed with the chip shortage. So that could start seeing, semiconductors, these types of tech stocks start to come back to life. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that plays out over the next few months. Let's see. Netflix, NFLX. So Netflix, good long-term potential, little less risk associated with it. However, the timing, its stock is in a free fall currently. Overall, the stock is about average at best. And as we were talking about, looking at the value here, the value is currently $322.89. The stock is trading at a discount at $213.12 roughly. So therefore, the stock is undervalued, yes, but once again, timing is everything. It doesn't matter how good the stock is or how poor the stock is. No matter if its stock is not making you money, if it's not in an uptrend, doesn't make sense holding on to it anyways. And so therefore, with that RT being at 0.14, tells us stay away, wait to see that RT start to pick back up before, even considering getting back into it or, adding it to your portfolio. Personal thoughts on it. We talked about it a lot yesterday during our afternoon market action. But with with Netflix though, until they start seeing some actual signs of doing something to right the ship or get the ship back on the right track, I'd be staying away from it because the trends are not good on this one. People are canceling, people are dropping it with so much competition out there. They're trying to increase how many people are or increase the cost of it. They're trying to lock people out so that way people can't password share, even though they promoted password sharing for Netflix accounts for years. So it seems like they're trying to do some rug pulling after they've been getting everybody hooked for so long. And unfortunately, they're doing it a little too late with all the competition out there. They've got to revamp themselves, if you will, or pivot somehow to get them back on the right track. So just my 2 cents on that one there. All right, let's see. AINV, Apollo. Apollo, good long-term potential, but a lot of risk associated with it. You're in a slight uptrend. Personally, I prefer to see that RT at 1.1 or higher. At 1.05 just tells me the stock's basically just treading water right now. Therefore, I'd be staying away from it. Overall, stock is not favorable. ZIM. Another popular one here, ZIM. Great long-term potential, but it does have a little bit more risk associated with it. Timing at 1.32 tells us it is in a slight uptrend on a short-term basis. Overall, the stock is favorable. I'd be waiting to see some type of signs that we're hitting higher highs, higher lows, rather than trying to, time this exact bottom there. Hey, Maria, hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're having a good day this morning. All right, ACGL. We'll do a few more here for the day. So ACGL, good long-term potential, less risk associated with it, really strong short-term uptrend. So overall, stock is definitely favorable. We'll do two more. INTC. INTC, poor long-term potential, a little bit less risk associated with it though, so more of a conservative play. Stock's price action is basically flat, slightly down a little bit. Overall, stock's not really that favorable right now. And then last but not least, we'll do LAC. So LAC, poor long-term potential, does have more risk associated with it. You are in a steady decline, so overall, the stock is not favorable currently. Therefore, going to be staying away from it. Baxter has a question. What EV stock you think is not expensive, however, it's up and coming and will challenge Tesla? So that actually, we go into, where is it? My watch list, and we'll take a look at the stocking stuffers. My pick for 2022 hasn't been doing that great so far, but Lucid. It was my speculative pick for 2022 to outperform for the EV space. Right now, yeah, it's definitely been selling off, definitely pulling back, but now that they're starting to ramp up production, now they're actually starting to get cars out there, they're definitely getting on the right track. And hoping to see 2022, the second half of 2022, be a little bit better for them than what the first half has been. So that is my speculative pick from the EV field on what will be the best performer for the year of 2022. So there you go. All right. So with that, let's go ahead, jump into the homepage, take a look. Right now, we are still one tick into the red. Therefore, the color guard is mildly bearish, and VectorVest does not advocate buying any stocks at this time. As we scroll down, we still have that red light coming from the RT. Looking at the primary wave. So we count back 5 trading days ago, 61.65. We have to see the price action drop roughly about 20 cents here. That would be a pretty significant move to the downside based off of that. So most likely we will see that primary wave stay in that up situation at least for the day, unless something drastic happens, which we've seen happen more than once here. So, it could potentially happen, but odds are we'll see that primary wave stay in the up situation. And then to get that green light, we have to cross above yesterday's high, so 61.89. Therefore, we could potentially see that green light showing in the price column. That would probably move that RT back into yellow, and therefore that gauge would end up, by the end of the day, if we saw that happen, end up one tick into the green rather than being one tick into the red currently. So could see some interesting market action here in the second half of the session here today. Looking at the advanced declines, the decliners continuing to pick up some speed. Advances currently sitting at 41%, so pulling back a little bit. Decliners now sitting at 48%, therefore gaining a little bit. So therefore, still not at that 2-to-1 ratio to really say one way or the other, but the bears are starting to gain a little bit of a lead right now. Taking a look at the major indices, the Dow is only up about 0.5% now. NASDAQ's up 0.6%. S&P's up about 0.5%. VectorVest Composite down about 0.1%. Looking at the quick little mini graphs though, you can see all the major indices are sliding so far for the whole session. So keep an eye out for potential reversal, but right now doesn't look super great that we're going to see that reversal really coming into play. So as always, let the trend be your friend and let the color guard guide you in your decision process on when to get in and when to get out. So thank you all for tuning in here today. I hope you all have a great rest of your trading day. Have a great weekend. And make sure, if you guys are interested in seeing what headlines are making news today, what headlines are having an impact on today's trading, hang out with us at 2 p.m. Eastern today as Glenn has its Trending Thursdays. So make sure to come back at 2 p.m., come hang out with Glenn, maybe catch some of his impromptu singing that he does from time to time, and have a good laugh once or a few times throughout that session as well. So have a great rest of your day. Be safe out there. Be careful. And make sure to be here at 11 a.m. Eastern next week as we kick off our next stream. So take care. Adios and toodles.